Greetings, friends. Reformed Stoic, back again with another video. So this one could seem at first glance like a repeat topic, but I think it's reapproaching something from a different angle, filling in some missing gaps from the past, and more so than speculating and asking questions and wondering why, I'm coming back to these topics, revisiting this topic, with more answers and more insight of why I think I ended up living this kind of isolated way of life. I have answers this time, friends, and this will also could be kind of seen as just kind of that like cozy kind of a scrape it up against the black pill topic, not really like complaining or getting too depressing, but some people just like to listen to people, just drag on about the woes of the world and the woes of life. But I don't think this video is going to be quite like that, but it will itch on that maybe a little bit for those of you who just like to have some black pill ASMR going in the background. So, the way I wanted to approach this is just looking at my life and how I would define different phases of my life. It did not take too long in early childhood for me to get into video games. I talk about being a 90s kid. I was born in 91. I've gone over this a bunch on this channel. They say the true 90s kids were born more like mid 80s, late 80s, so they could fully experience the 90s. But I feel like I was there, man. I was there. I remember. I have very early memories. I was just talking to my mom about this trip, this epic trip where so many things happened at once. I took the ferry from Kodiak. My mom was delivering a car to her friend. We took a road trip through Homer and Seward. When my gamer friend first moved to Anchorage, the first house he lived in there, I remember some of the games he had when I visited. He showed me like Earthworm Jim for Super Nintendo. He either had Mega Man X4 or Mega Man X5. He had like the DOS game Monster Bash. He had the sequels and I only had the first one. But he was a big influence on me. He was a year older than me. We pretty much grew up together. We knew each other since we were babies. His mom was my mom's best friend. And so he got me into video games pretty much right out the gate. My first system was a Nintendo Entertainment System, just regular Nintendo. We had a decent collection of games for that. I had the Jaws game. I had the Mission Impossible game. I could never figure out how to play it, but I tried. I think I had a couple of Ninja Turtles games, 2 and 3, I believe. I had Bad Dudes. Bad Dudes was a cool, like, early beat-em-up game. And then Super Mario 3, the one where he gets, like, the foxtail, and classics. And then I got a Super Nintendo 64, just like, all the classic stuff. But the point of bringing up that trip is that that was, like, when my mom was pregnant with my little sister. So I must have been, like, 5 years old. I was discussing that with my mom not that long ago. And I was thinking, gosh, I have so many memories before that. I have so many memories before that time. I remember when we lived in the house before the house we lived in back then. And so I have a lot of memories, like, before I was even 5 years old. So I feel like I fully experienced the 90s. The television, the video games, and basically all the way up until I started partying, like my junior and senior year of high school, I was kind of a gamer. Now, there was a little bit of a side quest that developed into more of the main feature, really like my freshman and sophomore year of high school, which would be playing drums, being involved in music. I played in band classes, in 6th grade. Actually, part of my origin stories as a drummer is they were talking about making band class available in 6th grade. And I was like, oh, cool. That's like a waste of time. that's like a class, because not, some people would go off to band class while the other kids were in different classes. So I was like, oh, nice, band is like a waste of time. That's something that's like not regular schoolwork. So I want to do that. And I was actually going to play trumpet, but then I saw a kid like opening up a snare drum out of the case. I was like, oh, wow, that's even like easier than the trumpet. I'm going to take this waste of time non-class and I'm going to play the easiest instrument. Oh, this is great. I'm like not actually in school for this little period of time. But I was already in the process of getting drum lessons from my family friend. And we won't go any more into him in this video. I've talked about him enough. So yeah, I was playing snare drum in band in 6th grade, and I was taking drum lessons. And then in middle school, I took band classes, but things started to get kind of serious. It was evident that like I was a serious drummer by like freshman year. It was already evident by my 8th grade year. That's when I was like playing with the older high school kids. So I picked it up pretty quick. I picked up the drums pretty quick. I wasn't like a prodigy or anything, but I could keep a solid beat. I listened to pop punk and emo. I was already kind of working on covering those kind of songs. But I definitely still did a lot of gaming in middle school. One of my nerdy friends, he turned me on to Animal Crossing. Oh my gosh, I knew that was going to come up in this video. Now we're really getting to the meat of why I ended up growing up to be isolated. Because I must have put a stupid, ridiculous amount of hours into Animal Crossing, man. It's cringe to think about. Me and my neighbor friend across the street would like write letters to freaking chipmunks in that game and be like, Mitzi's my girlfriend. Yeah. So I put like way too much time into Animal Crossing for GameCube. It's a fun game, man, but yeah, I definitely cringe thinking about that. And then a lot of time into Sonic Adventure 2 Battle with the Chow Garden. I was trying to make the Chaos Chow, and I never even did it. I could never even figure it out. But it was fun, nonetheless. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even really consider myself like a serious gamer. I definitely beat some games over the course of my childhood through middle school. And then it's a little bit foggy, like freshman year and sophomore year. I'm just trying to remember, like, if I still played some games. I remember the Wii was out my sophomore year. I got a Wii. I did some Wii Sports, Wii Fit. But that's more like tinkering around. Like, I don't really see that as serious gaming. So before that, so that was like PS3, Wii, then there's PS2, GameCube, which was like quite a bit of time before that. I actually had to put... My parents said they weren't going to get me the GameCube for Christmas. They wanted me to like make my own money and save money to try to instill the value of money into me. Like, you can see how that worked out. But it was kind of cool. Like, I had the GameCube on layaway, which is, you put some money down and then you keep bringing money to them so you can slowly buy it. And that Christmas, I got some GameCube games. I'm like, oh, did you guys buy the rest of the GameCube? It's like, nope, but we know you're just about to get the GameCube, so here's your games. But yeah, I know, like, 7th grade, 8th grade, so this nerdy guy, he turned me on to Animal Crossing, cringe. Cubivore, which is kind of a fun little GameCube game. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. That one was interesting because you use the Game Boy Advance as a controller. I played that with my neighbor friend. We'd get like 4 people playing that, 4 Game Boy Advances. That game's pretty cool. That's like a cool party game. Hours and hours of Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Melee. See, when it comes to like first-person shooters, I was about like GoldenEye. I was all about like GoldenEye and The World's Not Enough, the James Bond games for 64. But yeah, so now it's like around my freshman year of high school, getting pretty close. Those were like the first LAN parties, Halo LAN parties, Halo 2. I think it started with Halo 2 for the multiplayer LAN parties. That would have been like 8th grade when I went to that, but I definitely went to a couple my freshman year. So now freshman year starting to load up in my head. See, that was more like going to bonfires, or maybe a couple of people would be drinking, but I still didn't want to drink. I was still 2 years off from that. That was like going to movie nights where there would be like a group of girls and a group of guys, and there was maybe a little bit of hand holding going on. Don't worry, I wore a condom. Um, yeah, like that was more like starting to hang out with girls a little bit. But after all was said and done, me and my friends would still game it up a little bit. But yeah, it is interesting trying to think about, especially my freshman year of high school. Like, I can't even think of if I was still gaming at all at that point. I was getting really into drums, high school, hanging out with people. I was pretty popular all throughout high school. I had a lot of stuff going on between hanging out with the music kids and my original groups of friends. And then some of the people I played music with, because I think we've kind of gone through my gaming era. The kids who were a year younger than me, that when they entered into high school, they were freshmen, I was a sophomore, we started playing music together. Those were the guys that got me to smoke weed for the first time, that got me to drink. Then I started showing up at the parties. That started the very end of the summer leading to my junior year. So that would be the next leg of my life. From childhood through middle school to the first couple of years of high school, it was gaming, and then music started becoming serious. Then it was partying. And, that was like the grease. That was how I met people on the East Coast, where I was going to music school and playing in bands and trying to do what really had become the goal of my life, which was to try to make a career out of music. But yeah, the way social stuff worked over there was like, hey man, you smoke weed? Like, maybe half an hour into talking to somebody, or you just see some like kind of chuddy guy who has long hair or likes metal or something. It's like, you smoke weed, bro? Hell yeah, bro. Dude, we should smoke weed together. That was like how I made all of my friends. Everybody drank, everybody smoked weed, and it was pretty simple. Now, I did not end up going to a lot of frat parties or dude bro parties. What's funny is my second year at Berkeley, I moved into a different apartment, and both my roommates were girls. I lived with two girls. One of them ended up leaving because she was all depressed. I bought this freaking Dead Sea facial cream that was like $50, and she fucking took it when she left. She stole my facial cream. I was trying to looks max. I was like, maybe this facial cream will make women like me. Yeah, but before that girl moved out, she had a boyfriend who was a frat guy, and I met him one time. I was like, hey dude, what's up? Nice to meet you, bro. Bro, if you ever just like want to come over to the frat and like bro out with the bros, dude, like, dude, we'd love to have you, bro. And I never did that, but I probably should have gave it a shot. He was definitely being nice. But yeah, I don't need to dwell too much longer on this. Like, I lived in the house with all the metal musicians, and we all played in bands. Everybody was smoking weed every day, drinking every so often. Shroomy boobies, bro. Shroomy boobies, dude. And that just really fueled everything. And then, yeah, I'd take the trips back to my hometown that I later realized I should have never did. But that was my security blanket, And it got to a point where it's like I was doing a little bit better with women there than I was in Boston. But it's because I just kind of wasn't really getting that far in Boston. I was in the metal scene, and we were kind of codependent. I talked about that in an earlier video. I think all of us maybe had some issues, and we're just getting drunk and smoking weed and listening to metal music and having a good time and trying to bury shit. You know what I mean? Well, when I moved to Vegas, which I've talked about so many times, that has always been answered. That has always been obvious. Like, this is something that, now I'm looking at things with a little bit of a wiser pair of eyes and a little bit more knowledge, and I'm more observant and studied. But it was just so obvious what happened when I moved to Vegas. Like, I've always known this piece of the puzzle. A combination of the bitterness of not being able to make things work in Boston with the music, the being kind of like scared, like, wow, like this is what I thought I was going to do with my life, and now I'm not so sure. Struggling to kind of start over in Vegas, taking that resentment to Facebook and pissing off people from my hometown. And then underneath the bitterness, then there was the resentment. Like, you know, these people in my hometown were always kind of fucked up to me, and people in Boston were way cooler, and I had a lot of respect over there, and people acted like I was maybe not really good enough to go to Berkeley, and I realized that that was not the case. And the bitterness, the resentment, and then you have the fact that I was getting into spiritual occult stuff. And then there was the culture war, which I would say started around 2014. Trayvon Martin, was there somebody before that? Like, whatever kicked off the Ferguson riots, the Ferguson stuff, the origins of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, that is what I would mark being the beginning of the culture war, leading up to Trump's first run, and leading to him becoming the president. That is the beginning of the culture war. That's the beginning of, like, heavily, the beginning of the American far left and far right. And it's crazy because at the beginning of it, I was kind of a leftist. I remember calling my mom after watching this live stream where there were, I don't know if it was even Antifa yet or Black Lives Matter. It was just like a bunch of college liberals, and they all got surrounded by police in Portland, and they all got arrested. And I was like, it's so messed up, Mom. It's a peaceful protest, and they're all going to jail. And I was kind of spurging out from like a leftist perspective, and I was debating people online in defense of Black Lives Matter, in defense of Trayvon Martin. Believe it or not, I started out as a leftist. And I engaged these guys in debate. Thinking I'm so smart about, you know, like police brutality and black people. At a certain point, it's like, man, you think you know it all, but you just, yeah, you know, oh, there's body cam footage. Oh, well, gee, I never really thought about it like that before. Oh, what? 4chan? Oh, okay, I'll check it out. And then it's all history from there. And they turned to me. It's like Anakin becoming Darth Vader. From my perspective, the Republic is evil. Dude, I've been thinking about watching Return of the Sith again. I'm gonna have to get that going, man. Just not even like the first two. Forget about like Attack of the Clones and whatever the first one's even, Phantom Menace. Just straight to Return of the Sith, dude. That movie goes fucking hard. Yeah, but that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, this video could probably just be getting wrapped up about now, like, and now that so much time has gone by, over 10 years since 2014 when this all started for me, it was the perfect storm. Starting something new. I needed to start over. I was bitter, upset, frustrated, kind of scared about how so many things didn't work out, leading to me starting over. Uncovering resentment, frustration, thinking out loud on Facebook, which did not go well at all. And I was talking today on my live stream about how, like, Facebook looks exactly like Reddit. You go into a Facebook discussion and it's like, wow, these are Reddit opinions. It's like, Facebook was Reddit all along. It's like, wait, Facebook was Reddit? Has been all along. It's always been Reddit, dude. And that's why I got fucking destroyed, because I am the anti-Reddit. I've always been the anti-Reddit. Even when I was a leftist, I was making people cringe, dude. I think being a leftist is just the factory settings of a normie in the United States. And between the occult and the culture war and bitterness and resentment and isolation, the beginning of isolation, I started to undo those factory settings. And so, why do I think I ended up there? Well, you know, the gaming in the first part of my life. I grew out of it. I did play some games again in Vegas. It was a big deal for me to work through all of these RPG games. I ended up beating Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Chrono's Trigger, Wild Arms 1 and 2, Ogre Battle 64 a couple of times. Once I got the bad ending, once I got the good ending. Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen. I just recently beat Breath of Fire 2, so I've played quite a bit of RPGs at this point. Destiny of an Emperor, so thinking about playing Destiny of an Emperor 2. That was a big deal for me, and yeah, I would pull up people's playthroughs, which is like, dude, that like takes the fun out of it, but not for me, dude. Like, you know, I'm hanging out with the guy while he's doing his playthrough. He has his commentary, and you know, sometimes like I even screw that up, and that makes it kind of epic because chances are I'm going to screw it up at some point. So then I have to like go into the boss battle without some key item or something, and it was fun. You know, it's more fun for me to know that I'm going to get through the game and I'm not going to get lost. Because when I was a kid, I rented Chronos Trigger we had a store called CrossFox before we even had a Blockbuster. That was like a local mom and pop spot. And yeah, just trying to feel my way through Chronos Trigger, I got lost. Trying to feel my way through Wild Arms 2, that was the first game I ever got for PlayStation 1. Holy crap. Now that I've beat Wild Arms 2, I look back and it's like, little buddy, like, you would have never gotten through that game. Even if you would have got past the part where you got stuck, you would have never got through that game. So yeah, I mean, I play a video game every now and then, but I wanted to say a little bit in this video about how I actually do kind of admire aspects of gamers. I watch gaming YouTube channels. I watch this guy, My Retro Life. He has like home footage from his childhood and memories of his dad. He was like a major gamer kid. Some of these gamer kids like had a lot of video games and a lot of systems. I just worked with what I had. Like, some people would look at it and say I was spoiled, and I was. But I knew kids who were like crazy spoiled. Dude, this kid that I grew up with who moved to Anchorage, he had every system, dude. He had all the games, and he had crazy stacks of gamer magazines. And like I said, he's the one who got me into gaming. But I look at these channels like, you know, Pete Dorr, My Retro Life. You got John Riggs, John Hancock, Metal Jesus Rocks. And then there's other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. I really like Pete Dorr's channel. Pete Dorr has like a really unique taste in video games. He likes the weird platformers and stuff and games that not everybody likes. But there's a part of me that really admires these guys because it's like, man, you played games when you were a kid. Where me, I changed as I got older, you know, games to music to partying with music to everything just kind of fucking fell apart. These guys had really simple lives, man. Like, they played video games when they were kids. It's like, wow, I love this. I always want to do this. What am I going to do for a living? I'll just talk about video games on YouTube. And some of these guys, that became a huge, lucrative career for them. Like, they just didn't really have to try that hard, man. They just followed their heart, and they did what they loved. And I'm sure their parents were like, I don't want you to play those video games. You need to get a job so you can support yourself. And they support themselves playing video games and talking about video games. I was in StarCraft Club when I was in 6th grade. Forgot to mention that. I wasn't really that good. I was better than like a couple of people who really sucked really bad, but I never got very good at StarCraft, dude. Yeah, so, you know, there's a part of me that like every now and then I'll play a game, but yeah, I've just become so much more complex and there's so many other things I'm into. But I don't say that like derogatory toward gamers, talking down to gamers. I would never like snub my nose at gamers. Like, on some level, I'm jealous of gamers, and it's funny how hard it is. And I've told people that, you know, I watch Caleb Hart, because he plays through Mega Man X and Final Fantasy VII. I've watched him play, I watched so many playthroughs of, like, not all the way through, but when he was regularly doing his Final Fantasy VII playthroughs, even back when I was in Kodiak and some now, I would just go hang out in his chat, like, every day for a while. Like, that was just kind of, like, a cool regularity. Just something that kind of just gave some, like, routine and stability to my day, you know? Just in my free time a little bit. Go in there and hang out, leave some shitpost comments, and watch some Final Fantasy VII gameplay. But, yeah, what I'm saying is, like, these guys who speedrun games, like, not just the collectors, the speedrunners who have these insane speedrun records, it's not as, like, arguably it's not as valuable as playing a Dream Theater song or like a 30-minute long Between the Buried and Me drum cover or something. But if you think about it, the amount of like things they have to nail to beat that game perfectly, like the Final Fantasy VII speed run is like 7 hours or something, 6.5 hours. It's almost like playing a 6.5 hour song on drums, and if you screw up at any point, you have to start over. So, as somebody who's worked my way through some intricate drum covers, like I totally have respect for that. Like, it's arguably harder. It's arguably harder to speedrun a video game than it is to play a crazy drum cover. Yeah, so I would never snub my nose at gamers. That's not how it worked out for me. I tell you, this gamer kid that I grew up with, if he would have had the sense to create a YouTube channel, he could be Metal Jesus Rocks. He could be John Riggs. He could be Pete Dorr. He had that kind of gaming collection. He had that kind of gaming knowledge. Legit, dude. He had it for real. But yeah, I grew out of the gaming. I didn't ever grow out of the music. I still am a musician, but I have some musician acquaintances and friends who they're doing better than me. And I don't want to downplay what they do, but they hang out at smoky bars every weekend, and they're borderline alcoholics. Some of them do cocaine and are borderline alcoholics and smoke cigarettes and weed and drugs, and they're not married, and they're not making a full-time living playing music. Like, you guys, it's getting to the point, it's very, very difficult to like make a living playing music. At best, these guys got gigs every weekend, and they work construction. They work a trade. They're a welder or something. You know what I mean? Like, shit. One of like the most impressive, a very impressive guitar player that I knew from Berkeley who graduated and he had money. He's a computer scientist now. I looked him up and he's doing programming, and it looks like he's doing pretty well. But yeah, man, like, I'm not just some loser out here. Like, a lot of people that I kind of like Facebook check in on from music school, they're not living the dream, dude. Some of them are, maybe. Some people, maybe. I'm not really aware of what's going on, and I'm not trying to judge people. And I told people on stream today, I don't recommend you do that. If you're curious about looking somebody up, maybe just don't, bro. Maybe just leave people in the past and just let them be. It's kind of a negative thing to do. It's like, oh, I hope that you didn't make it. And it's not like I hope they didn't make it, but when you look somebody up and their life is fucking amazing, like, that usually doesn't make you feel great. And then when you look somebody up and their life like isn't amazing, you're like, ha! He didn't make it either. It's so horrible, dude. It's so horrible to put it that way. That's like acknowledging something unconscious that a lot of people just wouldn't admit that, but that's how people are, dude, unfortunately. Looking up girls from the past being like, come on, single mother with 12 kids, fat, yeah, baby. Married to a doctor, moved to Switzerland, famous Instagram influencer, married to a doctor in Switzerland with a wonderful family. No! Why, God? Why did you allow this person to be happy? Who didn't even fucking do anything to me? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Gaming, like, holds a special place in my heart. Everything nostalgic holds a special place in my heart. Music will always be important to me. I love listening to music. I listen to a lot of older music. It's funny. It's like, I think about comparing like emo music to Periphery. It's like, yeah, Periphery is like superior. The tone is superior. The rhythms are perfect, and it's more complex and more harmonically complex and rhythmically complex, and the structuring is better. And it's just like, yeah, but 9 times out of 10, I'd rather listen to my 14-hour emo playlist. I'd rather listen to Finch, Census Fail, Taking Back Sunday, Rufio, Blink-182 over Periphery most of the time. Why? Because it just brings me back, bro. And I'll tell you, the drumming tone, I loved listening to music and you could hear their drums be like, yeah, that's like a custom maple drum set. And the snare has that organic crack. and the wood has that organic warmth. And like you look up what kind of drum set he has, like, ooh man, that's a really good sounding pork pie drum set, or Orange County drums or percussion drum set. And the drum tone is like, I guess better than ever, but it's all sampled. And yeah, these guys have custom maple drum sets too, but they fucking hit the tom once in the studio with like $1 million mic setup and then sample the tom and then replace their... That's what they really do. It's like sample replacement. They take samples of their own drum kit and their own cymbals, and then they have their own sample pack, and then they record themselves in the studio, and they're fucking amazing, and they're better than everybody, and then they also replace their fucking drum parts with the samples from their sample pack, and then they quantize it, or it's just like, dude, you know what, man? I like the shittier drummers. I like listening to like the less perfect drumming with just old school, dude. It's just something is lost. Something is lost, bro. And you can't quite put your finger on what it is. If you try to explain it, it's like, no, dude, periphery's better. Like, take your fucking meds, weirdo. Like, you don't... What? What is it? What's better about it? 4 chords over and over? 4/4? Imperfect drumming? Like, dude, take your meds. Like, something is lost, guys. Something has been lost in the new world. And what I wanted to end this with is that I've realized that I really like the first 3 Toy Story movies. I've only seen the third one once, but I think I'm going to watch that again tonight. Because part of why answering the great question, why did I end up becoming isolated? The bitterness is a part of it. The resentment, the looking over my life, the realizing how fucked up my childhood was, the realizing that, oh, I'm a fucking beta and everybody else was Chad and blah, 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 blah. There's all of that. But then there's also the spiritual search, which I think is really what it comes down to, because I think this is all fate. I realized that I'm just a toy. At some point in life, I stepped off of the world stage, like, I am Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. At some point, I realized this is all just a role that I'm playing. I am just a toy. That's what I'm kind of seeing. I don't even know if that was intentional in these Toy Story movies. But it's kind of like the toys in Andy's room are like a cult or a secret society. And when Buzz Lightyear shows up, and, you know, he's all wrapped up in his ego, and Woody, like, has a problem with him. Woody's, like, extremely jealous. But eventually Buzz Lightyear gets initiated into this dark, kind of like a simulated reality, Gnostic tier reality that you're just a toy. And then what you see, I don't remember seeing this in the second Toy Story, but there was at some point, maybe it was a deleted scene or something, like the uninitiated, fresh out of the box Buzz Lightyear is like scared of Zurg, and he's trying to fire lasers at him. And then the initiated Buzz Lightyear just walks right up to him, pulls the batteries out, and Buzz is like, how did you do that? It's showing that, like, the initiated have some abilities, or they have some more control of this life. But anyway, aside from my fascination with Toy Story as a allegory for gnosis or initiation, at some point, guys, I realized that I'm just a toy. The whole drama of my life, because there's all these things where it's like, how are you going to become a musician? How are you going to get laid, dude? Bro, Trump, yeah, Trump, dude. Oh, bro, I'm so based, and fascism is actually based, dude. And how are we going to save the white race? It's like, where are you going, Stoic? Well, come on, dude. We can keep trying to get a girlfriend. Keep trying to make it music. We're going to save the white race. And it's like, you know, it just gets to a point where you just want all this to stop. And, you know, you're reading whatever the fuck you're reading. Hermeticism, Helena Blavatsky. You're going through your Aleister Crowley phase. You're like, ooh, I want to be a Rosicrucian / Freemason / this / that. Actually, you know what? Fuck all that. I'm just going to go to church and study theology. And Jay Dyer's the smartest man who ever lived. And just at some point, you're like, you know, man, all this stuff, like, trying to play this role in life, if I just stop fucking caring, if I just like, oh, no, dude, but then everybody will say that you're a loser, and then, like, you won't fit in anymore. It's like, okay, let's see how that goes. And I'm really, 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 really deep into that life. I'm really, really, really deep into that life. But, I called you an incel. I can still breathe the air. Still drink water. Food still tastes good. TV's still good. Still feels good to run. Still feels good to work out. Still feels good to go outside. Sunset still looks good. The cool air, the cool breeze feels good. The air conditioning and the hot weather still feels good. Video games are still fun sometimes. Life is still going. But I said that you're weird. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. And it just gets to a point where it's like, wow, man, like, that's not really a laser. You're not really Zurg. I'm not really Buzz Lightyear. This is just a big fucking stupid game. And, like, dude, don't say that. Like, lock him up, shut him up. And that's starting to sound like the Bill Hicks stand-up, Revelation. Or it was Revelations, I believe it was called. That stand-up was had a big impact on me. And that was part of his stand-up. He's like, this is just a roller coaster. This is just a ride. Like, but I have money and it's really important. I worked really, really hard for my money. It's like, yeah, man, but the roller coaster ride is going to end. And this is all just temporary. And who cares? Like, fuck, these guys are evil. These guys at the highest levels of government are evil. And we kill those guys. Like, hey, shut him up. That's literally what he says in his stand-up. And, like, I've lived that at this point. I've had people try to shut me up multiple fucking times. And it's the easiest way I can say it, guys. At some point, I realized I was a toy. It took years into the isolation, and then for a while, I was like, but even though I realized I'm a toy, why? You know, you start getting on the brink of this awakening, and it's like, okay, whatever, awakening, and I'm realizing these higher things, but I wish I didn't wake up, you know? Then you're like Cyrus in the Matrix, and you're like, man, I wish I didn't wake up. Like, I want to go back into the Matrix. I wish this didn't happen. I wish that life didn't happen this way. But being the spiritual whatever that I am, I look at my life, it's like, bro, it was the perfect fucking storm. Like, it just, coincidences don't happen. Move in, started a new life, all these trips I took back to Kodiak, the culture war, the occult, everything just lined up, and every single point led me to this cliff into the abyss. And now that over 10 years has gone by, it's like, this was meant to be. This was destiny. God chose this for me. I don't think I could see it any other way. And, you know, things aren't perfect right now. They're far from it. I still am not... there's a lot of lacking of certainty for, like, where I'm going to go in life or what's going to happen next. But I have found a kind of comfort that I definitely didn't have in my 20s. There's a kind of comfort, like, my lowest lows are not nearly as low as even, like, my moderate days in my 20s. Like, I have just created an entirely new sense of being. And it can, you know, it can kind of lull you to sleep in your life where maybe people are looking at it as like, bro, like, if you had that fire under your ass, maybe you would keep trying to get somewhere in life. To where now it's like I'm more comfortable just doing what I do, you know, being a chud, arguably. Like, I just am okay being who I am. I can understand the benefits of having the fire under your ass and trying to leave it, but there's also a great benefit to being like, you know what, I'm just a toy. It's like, cool, dude, you're Zurg, you're Buzz Lightyear, you're Woody's Roundup. Like, wow, you guys are all so fucking important, and you have all the shinies, and you guys got so many shinies, dude. You got 50 golden bananas, and I'm looking at a brand new game, and I'm just sitting in DK Island, haven't even fucking hit the switch to leave the first level, and I'm just chilling in my hammock, bro, because, I mean, what's really coming in this future, bro? What does it look like is going to happen? I mentioned on stream today, why haven't people let the Charlie Kirk thing go? And it's a tragedy, but when you're not getting triggered by the people saying horrible things about Charlie Kirk after he died, it's like, okay, that's not making me angry. That's not upsetting me. why are they doing that? Like, why are these people being like, oh man, it's good that Charlie got shot because blah 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 blah, and it's like, why would somebody do that? Because they're like I was on Facebook in my early 20s. You're upset. You're permanently upset. You want to bitch. You want people to see you saying edgy shit. You want to be seen. You want to make fucking noise, bro. You want to have a tantrum. Everybody's looking for things to have a tantrum about. And like, yeah, I think the right wing is coming out way better in this, and I still have my opinions, and I still see things a certain way. But a lot of people on the right, they don't want to let it go. They want to keep it going. Like, people are not letting this Charlie Kirk thing go because I think so many people are unhappy. Because I think so many people just want drama. They want conflict. They want bullshit. Because when all the smoke clears and everything's fine, it's like, okay, everything's fine. Back to my shitty job and my boring fucking life and my empty wondering and wanting and unsatisfied. Ooh, I don't want to think about that. Oh my god, it's so blah 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 blah. More chaos, more, because they don't want things to quiet down. It's the kind of people who don't ever want to be alone. They don't ever want to be in silence. And that's why I'm so confident coming back to meditation, to the point where I basically identify as a Christian mystic at this point, because it's like that silence that normies are avoiding. I got sent there. My life crashed and burned. Everybody tarred and feathered me and threw me in the trash. And the silence that everybody else hides from, I sat in that silence. I lived in that silence. I left that silence, and now I've returned to that silence. And it's like, that silence will liberate you. That silence will just calm your soul. And going back to the Metalocalypse thing, it's like, I took the box of banana stickers out of the therapist's office, and I covered myself in banana stickers. And people around me are like, no, I'm supposed to give you that banana sticker for being a good boy, for defeating Zurg as Buzz Lightyear. Is like, you know what? I'm tired of the bullshit. I gave myself banana stickers. Because this game that we're playing, it's fucked up. And that's what leads to these questions about, like, man, like, maybe the universe is different than what regular Christians think. Maybe there's a demiurge and we're trapped, and maybe this is hell. Maybe this is a punishment. Maybe this is a punishment to the level that you're not even learning anything here, and it's like what the soul trap people say, like, you got to escape this reality. And I'm starting to lean away from that. I'm pretty confident that there are things to be learned here, and I do think I learned things here, and it's just like, it just gets to a point, guys, where you just accept. And I think the people who can't accept their lot, that's when you want to blame God. That's when you want to do some edgy, dark spirituality. But when you just accept your lot and you try to understand why was it like this, you might eventually get close to answers, and you might come to peace. And then, when you finally come to peace and you develop learning through all these lessons, you might be able to figure out a little something in this life. You might be able to get a little family together. You might be able to get a little slice of a decent career, something you can stand. So, I've made peace with it. It would be nice to, like, you know, be a little bit more social, get a girlfriend, be confident that I'm not going to be homeless someday. But for now, I'm feeling a lot better than I was 10 years ago, than I was 15 years ago, than I was 5 years ago, than I was 7 years ago. I'm in an all right place, my friends, and I hope that you guys are in an all right place too, because I'm really pushing myself to not be that guy who's like, oh, let's look up this guy on Facebook. Oh no, he's homeless now and he's on drugs, but that guy was a football player in high school. I don't want to be that guy. And I already think I'm not. I genuinely want everybody to do okay. So, God bless you, my friends. Namaste. Salam alaikum. Well, Not really, but anyway, I love everybody. Oh, I'm so above it all and spiritual. Peace out. I'll see you guys for the next one. Later.